Hey there, my name is Oleg Lougheed. I'm the founder of the organization called Moments Worth Remembering. And if you really want to learn how to level up your life, you should listen to the Time to Shine Today podcast with my good friend Scott Ferguson. Let's level up. Go Blue.
Hey, Time to Shine Today podcast varsity squad. It's Scott Ferguson, and I have a 2.0 interview with, I like to say, a really good friend of mine, Oleg Lougheed. He is the founder of Moments Worth Remembering. This gift, which if you look down in the show notes or just check the link out, is one of the most bestest, that's my word of the day, gifts that you can give to somebody. I'm going to let him explain it, but I'm going to tell you, after you hear what it is, you will definitely want this gift for someone that you absolutely love, adore, or respect. So if you have anybody that's looking to give a fantastic gift, whether it's for the holidays or retirement or an anniversary or whatnot, please tune this in or at least share it with them. And please hit the like button or subscribe. It really helps my sponsors, affiliates. And I just want to thank you so much, because here comes my really good friend, Oleg Lougheed from Moments Worth Remembering. Let's level up. Time to Shine Today podcast varsity squad. This is Scott Ferguson, and I have a 2.0 interview with someone I kind of consider my little brother from another mother, man. He was on an episode 170. We built up. It's funny, off the mic we were talking about, we've never met in person, but we kind of like feel like we know each other, and we're going to be good buddies except for October 21st when my Sparty absolutely kicks the crap out of his Wolverines and stuff. But no, man, I'm here to welcome back my good friend Oleg Lougheed. And like before, his life that he started was pretty inauspicious. At 9 years old, he relinquished his parents' rights and entered the Russian orphanage. At 12 years old, he decided to be adopted into a new family in a new country halfway across the world to start a new life. At 24 years old, he began his journey of helping others live the way they have always dreamed of, despite their hardships and misfortunes, by allowing them to recognize the uniqueness and worth within their own story. Today, we're going to really talk about his product. I don't bring people on here to pump up products too much, but his product is something that if you're a professional that has clients or you have a boss that you really want to impress, his Moments Worth Remembering product is absolutely stellar. And it's a space for individuals to come together, share their experiences, and pay tribute to the indelible impact we have on each other. And Oleg, thank you so much for coming on. Please introduce yourself to Time to Shine Today podcast varsity squad. But first, what's a superpower that you have that really no one really knows about?
Well, I was going to say beating the Sparty on the 21st, but I don't know if that's a superpower anymore because we've done it so many times, right? So for me, I think when I think of my superpower, it's the ability to connect with people. And
Yeah.
I've learned this about myself. So at first, I didn't really believe it. And that is, there were people that would give me that as feedback saying, you're very good at connecting. You understand this concept of empathy and sympathy. And I didn't really see that in myself, because I think what I've learned is that it's harder to see things in yourself that are considered superpowers because you do them on a daily basis, right? So you don't really view those things as anything special other than, okay, this is something that I've done yesterday. I'm doing it today and probably will do so tomorrow.
Right.
So when I started to pay attention to the feedback from other people, I began to realize that this is something special. This is something that I should give a lot more value to, because not everyone is able to do that.
Right.
So that is something for me that I consider my superpower or my ability, and that's the ability to connect with people within the first 30 seconds to a minute to 5 minutes. Now, there is a component of it that I'm also going to say, I don't know how it happens or how I do it, right? The same way you and I, how are we able to just dive into the depth of life within the first 30 seconds of meeting each other?
Right.
And then here we are talking about some of the more important things in our lives.
Right.
So don't really know how it happens, how we're able to bypass a lot of it, but I'm choosing to attribute a lot of that to who I am and the space that I create. And maybe ultimately that's the person I show up as.
Mm-hmm.
And you just happen to be a reflection of some other version of myself.
Right.
And so it's easier to connect with when it comes to that. Right.
Like attracts like. You're very curious, and you had to be, brother. I mean, you come from Russia, to
Yeah.
here, not really knowing anything. So you are super curious all the time because you had to learn. You had to learn language. You had to learn
Correct.
food. You had to learn everything. So curiosity was kind of baked into you from the get, whether you
Yeah.
liked it or not. And it was a form of protection, I would think, to protect yourself against the outside world, to know before something happens. And you grew up so fast, and it just carried on, and that empathy and sympathy becomes a byproduct of that curiosity. So I hoping you were going to go that route, man. That's fantastic. So what's been going on, brother, in the past 3 years, it seems like, since we had you on last?
That's a good question. So moved into a new city, moved into a different city here. Those have been some of the big changes. What has remained the same? Still remained a Wolverine fan, still a Lions fan. I know I gotta keep throwing that in there, right? While I can.
We can, man.
But outside of that, I would say professionally, to connect it to your earlier point, I started a new business called Moments Worth Remembering. And for me, it really came from a moment in my own life where I was sitting at my grandpa's funeral, and I remember having this realization where I believe it was my aunt, my uncle, and my dad all got on stage at a different time and shared words about him. And I remember sitting there and thinking to myself, I wonder if he knew any of this. Now, this is about 10 to 12, however many years ago by now. So the only thing that clicked was a realization. There was no, I'm going to build this, I'm going to impact people in this way. It was just a light bulb that came on at that point. And then fast forward to about 7 to 8 years later, I had another realization where I wanted to do something different. It started with my dad's retirement and his birthday, and then it proceeded to probably 20 or 30 other people in my life that have made an impact. And so I wanted to create something meaningful for them. And I thought about it to myself, what can I create that's not going to be one of those throwaway gifts the following morning? Right? I'm sure we can all relate to this component, right? Like we put together this great gift and then the following morning it ends up in a recycling bin.
Right.
The way life works. And there's no offense taken by either party. It's just, you just accept it. That
or it sits on a freaking shelf where like it never gets thought of again, right? Because people don't want to offend you by throwing it away. Right.
That's another way of doing it.
Yeah.
So I thought about that question and said, what can I do that would be meaningful and different, and that would also allow me to tap into a deeper version of who I am at heart, which has been someone who genuinely tries to touch people's lives in ways that they may or may not have thought of before. So whether that's questions or things or experiences. And so that's where this concept came about. And it was a memory of that realization, however many years ago, from my grandpa's funeral. So I said to myself, it'll be very interesting to create a book where I can put together a list of letters and thoughts and memories from these people's lives and try to go as far back as possible. So in my dad's case, I found people who were interns from 30, 40 years ago. I found some of his friends from college. Some of my other friends' cases, I found their parents, their grandparents, their nephews, their cousins, their work colleagues. And there's something really interesting that I found after putting that together and gifting it to them. And the common denominator that I found amongst every single person was that I believe, to some degree, we are all seeking similar things in life.
Yes.
And that's the need to be appreciated, to be valued, and to know that whatever it is that we're doing makes a difference in someone else's life other than our own.
Yes.
So that's where I think it really took off, and it became something that I couldn't even imagine. And it's funny because I read so many of those stories, as I'm sure you have too, where you speak with someone who has started something and they say, I started with this, but I couldn't even imagine it becoming this.
Like this podcast.
Exact way. This podcast is the same exact way, right?
Yeah.
You start with this one concept and then it just grows into something else. But I think there's a profound lesson to be learned within that. And that's the power of a start and the importance of a start.
Ooh.
Someone I don't know if it was Oprah or Tony Robbins, but I read a quote by them however many days ago. It said, everyone was once a beginner.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's so true. I
Yeah.
think that's true anything in life.
Sure.
Everything was once a beginner at something in order to get to wherever it is that they're going.
Right.
And I think for me, the turning point was understanding that and understanding the fact that, yes, I might be scared to take this next step, but at the same time, would I rather do that, or would I rather live with the regret of not taking that step?
Well, like, why didn't you quit?
Why didn't I quit? For me, I didn't quit because I knew what I was doing and what I was becoming was much greater than I was.
Yeah.
That's the simple answer to
You're
it.
stepping into your greatness.
I think
yeah.
when I realized that, and I haven't found a good way to put that down into one sentence, because I think it's so much more than that.
Sure.
I think it's a feeling. I think it's a thought. I think it's a knowing. I think it's a realization that one experiences. And for me, it was all of those things.
Right.
I realized that my life, starting from childhood to 20s to now going into 30s.
What? Yeah.
I know, 30 years old, getting old. That's what it's become.
Sure.
It's so much more than just one being. I think it's really a great opportunity and a great responsibility.
Right.
To be able to do the work that we do. But I think it's true of anyone else.
Right.
I think it's true of anyone who listens to the show and may think that, oh, my impact doesn't really matter, or what I'm doing, it doesn't impact that many people.
Sure.
Well, the reality of the matter, it does. Because think about the number of interactions you have on a daily basis.
Right. Yeah.
Grocery store. Think about how many people you have the opportunity to hold the door open to. Think about how many people you can buy that bag for. In Philly, it's, I think, 10, 15 cents a bag, right?
Right.
So it's all of these things that you do. And one other thing I'll add is I started to realize that the opportunities to impact people are endless, because the platform from which you can impact is endless. In our case.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. I was going to say, in our case, and I don't know if you experienced this, but as a speaker, I used to think at a certain point that the only way that I could impact was from the stage.
Right.
But then I started to realize, well, really, the stage is everywhere. The stage is here.
Life. Yeah.
The stage is life.
Yeah.
So therefore, you have an opportunity to impact at any given moment. And I think that's true of every other person.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's like I made a pact with myself in 2009. My little brother had killed himself, and I went through a really deep, dark time of my life. But I was also, before then, I had put 2 commas in my bank account, made millions of dollars by really preying on other people's misfortunes, like buying foreclosures and stuff like that. And I just woke up one day when I kind of lost everything, when the market crashed, and I was like, I'm going to make 2 New Year's resolutions every day. And I started the New Year's resolution on July 10th that year of 2009. And I said, I'm going to make someone smile every day. And 2, unless I've hurt you, disrespected you, judged you, or owe you, I don't care what you think about me. Right. And I just started doing something daily of value to other people on the daily, because you can't get a smile from somebody without providing value, whether it's a kind word, holding the door, paying for someone behind you in line. I love that you go into that go-giver. And I was given a compliment last month that said, Fergie, you do what you love in the service of people that love what you do. And I thought about that. I was like, I actually do what I love in the service of people that love what I do. Right. And I was like, holy. And I found out the guy wrote the book, like 2 books called Radical Leap and Radical Edge, that actually told me that. And that was the biggest compliment. And that's the one I want to pay forward to you, is that, dude, you're doing what you love in the service of people that love what you do. I mean, their gift. Tell me about the gift. Is it a physical gift, a digital gift, or what is Moments Worth Remembering?
It's a physical book that people receive.
All right.
And essentially how it works is there are a handful of people, or as many people as one wishes, get to contribute to that book. So imagine there being a book created for you, right? Okay. in that book, you would have your significant others, your family, your work colleagues that all contribute on the concept of what makes Scott a gift in your life.
Right.
So that's the common theme. And then from there, everyone can contribute whatever it is that they want: memories, thoughts, different forms of appreciation. Now, you can also do this for companies, right?
Mm.
You can do it for companies as a way of culture development, team building. So in addition to having 360 reviews or performance reviews, you can have something like this that allows people to express some of their deeper thoughts to people working next to them as
Sure.
a way to create even more trust within that given culture.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of what I started to focus on with a lot of these efforts. And I think as far as the impact goes, I don't even think there's a word to describe it.
There's not.
Because in a way, it's the essence of who you are.
Yeah. Do you ever get people? It's okay if you don't answer it, but do you ever get
Sure.
people that you maybe someone's reached out to that said, I don't want to write something about somebody?
A handful. Yeah,
Okay.
a handful of
All
people
right.
have done that.
Okay.
And for me, I look at it in one of two ways. So A, it's a dialogue I can open up, or B, it's something that I just acknowledge and move past.
Right.
So I think with a lot of this, especially when it comes to the outreach that we do with a lot of this, and that's we don't know the people on the other end,
Mhm.
right? So we might reach out to people in your network or whoever's network that might be like, I had a rocky start. I don't know if I want to go down that road and express it. So how I view it is I view this as a space for not only expression of love and appreciation, but also forgiveness, right? And acceptance.
Right.
So looking at that as an opportunity to forgive, ultimately, I think yourself,
Okay.
and then simultaneously the other person.
Love it. No, that's beautiful that you handle that in such a professional manner, because some people, it's not in their cliche DNA to really write
Sure.
stuff about other people. Because where I'm seeing this is, it's like I'm coming on. I'm in my fifth decade. 51 now, right? And one of my biggest fears a lot of times, Oleg, is being forgotten. Right? It's like you start thinking about that, and with your gift, especially if you give it as a retirement gift, right? I mean, that'd just be perfect for a retirement gift. That your gift, it'd just be something that you'd want to give somebody that just, it's evergreen. It's always going to stay there. It's going to be there. And it's a good reminder for the person as well. If they might have a bad day, hey, go to the Moments Worth Remembering book and remember what people think of you and like how much of an impact you've made on the world. So thank you for putting this together, man. Like, this is awesome. So what are the materials like that it's made out of?
Well, think about it this way. And before I answer that,
Sure.
I'll add one more thing. So not only is it, I think, a great retirement gift, some people have actually turned back to me and they said that you've written my eulogy.
Yeah, huge.
And that's powerful, right?
Huge. You kidding me?
Because when you pass, that's essentially what ends up being said.
Yeah.
Our words about that person.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what your experience has been like, but I'll say from my personal experience, sometimes there's a little bit of a challenge in trying to gather all these thoughts about the person and figuring out who do I need to speak with? Who were the people from 30, 40, 50 years ago that he or she might have touched?
Right.
And so when that person, I remember it came back to me, he's in his 70s, he said, not only thank you for allowing me the chance to read this while I'm alive, but thank you for writing my eulogy. It kind of just hit me differently. I was like, wow,
right.
That is really profound.
Sure.
So what is it made of? I mean, just standard paper, standard binding book.
Beautiful. Okay.
Hardcover. Imagine it being like a photo album.
Yeah.
Hardcover front and back. Colors, pictures, and things like that are all interchangeable depending on the person. So let's say if, once again, it's a book about you, the cover would be filled with pictures of you.
Sure.
If it's a book of someone else, the pictures would be of someone else. Color tends to be the person's favorite color. And then the inner pages have the letters with a little bit of a design we put around it. And so it's all meant to be a surprise to top it all off.
Yeah.
So you're never going to know if you were to receive one, when, how. we've delivered this through significant others. I've
Mhm.
showed up in some people's homes. I did this 2 weeks ago. I took a flight, Amtrak to Chicago, and saw a friend of mine there. He didn't know I was coming. He didn't know I was giving him this
That's
book.
awesome.
I gave him the book
Yeah.
because he changed my life. And so I said, if this is a small way that I could say thank you for the impact you've had,
Yeah.
here
I
it
love it.
is.
Now, Oleg, are they like is it the person's handwriting when they write the notes out, or typing, or like how is
Printed.
each page? It's printed.
Yeah,
Okay.
each page is printed. So they
Very good.
essentially go through the website, Moments Worth Remembering, put in the order, member from our team contacts them, and then we put them through a process of, okay, here are the contributors that you're looking to reach out to.
Sure.
So we can do all the outreach to every single one of the people
Yeah, I saw
who,
that. You sent it to
you
me.
know,
That's pretty sweet.
who
Yeah.
can be a contributor to that. And then they essentially input all the data through a form. We gather it, put it together, put it onto individual pages, package it, print it, ship it to them. One other thing that I'd like to do, because this is kind of the vision that I've set for myself, is actually start delivering some of these in
That's
person.
awesome. That's cool.
Like,
That's
why
really
not?
cool.
Right? Just
Yeah.
show up at the person's front door. Here it is.
Hmm.
And I think it's even probably even more, makes it even more meaningful and memorable when you're
Right.
not expecting it.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, been the common denominator is so many of the people that we've given it to, and this
Hmm.
goes back to your earlier question, so many people that we've given it to, are not expecting it. And so many people said, I knew you were doing this, but
Mm.
then never thought I would be one of the people receiving it.
That's
And
awesome.
part of it, I think, has to do with the fact that, in my opinion,
Yeah.
many people don't feel like they are deserving of love,
Right.
of kindness, of
Mm.
appreciation. And
Love
so,
it.
if this is
Yeah.
a way that I can maybe shift that narrative, why not?
Yeah. That's what you're doing. There's people like, okay, my 40th birthday,
Mm,
my fiance at the time, like she put together a party. I have no idea how she can contact these people, how she found out. And there's like 180 people there for my 40th birthday, and they had all written something. I still have it on a wall in my office. It was like a huge thing, said 40 years in the making. There's some pictures of me. It was a big poster board, and people wrote little notes. And I keep that as a reminder of how, I've touched lives, whether it was past clients, enemies wrote on it. She reached out. She didn't realize these people were like my rivals in business. And they said, thank you for keeping me sharp. And it was still nice stuff. They just kind of poured
mm.
out of them. So I'm glad that you're putting this together, man. So what is the turnaround time?
It could be as short as a week. It could be as long as 2 to 3 weeks. It
Okay.
it all depends on the type of package that people purchase and how
Okay.
many submissions they want in each one. So
Okay.
there are typically three options we go with. One is kind of the option you do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So you are the one that's responsible for creating a list of contacts, reaching out to them, following up, making sure all the information gets delivered to us, and then we
Right.
put it together. And then the other two is we take over that process. So
Okay.
we take over the process of outreach, follow up, which I'm sure you can tell it's a job of its own,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Dealing with people.
Yeah.
So there's a,
Absolutely.
there's a job within the job.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell people is whichever one you choose, just understand that there is a commitment of time you're either going to have to put into or we're going to have to put into.
Right.
So turnaround time, yeah, 1 to 2 weeks or 2 to 3 weeks, depending on kind of the option that they pick.
Beautiful. And I'm actually kind of looking at the website. It's very squat. It's very, very, very professional how it's put together. And it's just something that I'm so glad my good friend Oleg is kind of brainchilded it to come out there and really start getting this out to the masses. So I'm thinking like anybody out there that has a professional that's touched them, whether it's personal or professional, someone that's retiring, somebody that is a realtor, all my fellow realtors out there, that what a better way to really show clients some love.
And probably
Yeah,
make a lifetime client out of that.
absolutely. Are you kidding
Because
me?
you got to think
And
about it. Very few are probably willing to do this Many
right?
write thank yous. Many
Yeah,
give gift cards.
sure.
Very few, I think, go far and beyond in something like
Yeah.
this.
What I used to do, Oleg, is you've heard of Cutco knives, right?
Yeah,
The best knives in the
that's an
world.
expensive. It's an
Right.
expensive brand. Yeah.
Exactly. So what I would do is I would buy a Cutco knife with my emblem or my logo engraved in like the top part is the big butcher knife thing, or
Mm,
not butcher knife. But what's nice about Cutco is that for the life that you have the knife, they send somebody out there to sharpen it for you every year.
yeah.
Right. So they would show up and say, I'm here on behalf of the Ferguson real estate team. I'm here to sharpen your knife. Now, their job really is to sell more knives. I feel
Yeah.
I get it. Right. But they showed up on behalf of me. And that was like evergreen, bro. People would come back to me 6-7 years later. I'm ready to sell my house. So, and like, yeah, Cutco guy stops by every freaking year. And it's just like, this is something that is evergreen as well, moments worth remembering, man. I'm so happy
Mm,
that you really put this together. But as we move kind of forward to wrapping this, man, I have to take you through our leveling up lightning round again, man, because I want to see if some
please
of the
do.
answers still mesh. All right, brother?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Remember, it's 5 seconds, no explanations. You ready to level up?
Oh boy, let's do it.
We could do it, brother. Even for a Wolverine, you'll be all right. All right, brother. So, Oleg, what is the best leveling up advice you've ever received?
Best
Leveling up advice.
leveling up
Positive.
advice I've ever received. Challenge my own assumptions and expectations.
Love it. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Discipline.
Yeah. So you see me walking down the street and you say, man, Fergie's looks like he's in his doldrums a little bit. What book might you hand me to help me level up?
Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah, Napoleon, can't go wrong. What's your most commonly used emoji when you text?
Wolverines.
Oh,
DM
geez.
symbol.
Nicknames growing up?
Chicken.
I still love it. So what is, let me see, chess, checkers, or Monopoly?
Checkers.
All right. Headline for your life?
The power of your story.
Beautifully. Absolutely. Any superstitions, or you just don't have any?
You become what you think you are.
Love it. Love it. Go-to ice cream flavor.
That's a tough one. Oreo cookies.
All right. There's a sandwich called the Lougheed. Build that sandwich for me.
Bacon, lettuce,
Man
tomato.
Candy. There you go. We're back to being friends. You threw a little man candy on there, brother. So, favorite charity and or organization you like to give your time or money to?
Overcoming odds.
Love it. You actually said that last time, so you're staying very consistent on this. That was 3 years ago. Last question, let's see if you're consistent here, but what's the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, or 2000s?
2000s.
All right. Yeah, you were. You're awesome, man. That's awesome. So, Oleg, how can we find, and what's the best way that people can find and order Moments Worth Remembering?
Just through the website, momentsworthremembering.com. Or if they have any questions, they can connect with me personally. LinkedIn is probably the best option.
Absolutely.
That people can find me and then just reach out and say, hey, want to put together this for my dad's retirement or birthdays or any sort of milestones or special occasions, I think also are very fitting for something like this. Bar mitzvahs, any religious events can also be something that this can be gifted to. So
gotcha. And people, they're going to need you're probably not just going to want to jump into it and say this is something you're going to be able to do over the weekend, because there's people that need to be contacted. There's people that are going to need to be followed up with to get the messages written and stuff like that. So this is something that if you're looking at as a gift in the future, squad, get it done now. Get to the website, Moments Worth Remembering, which I think is a fantastic URL. Was that available?
It was.
No freaking way, dude. That's beautiful. Great.
Well, that's where it's meant to be, right?
Yeah, dude.
That's where things like that, and the same way for me, I just stopped questioning whether things are randomly happening.
Right.
I think with things like that, they're confirmations.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're confirmations that this is meant to be in some way or another.
I love it. I love that, man. It's kind of like how my coaching rolled off of my real estating, because like if you and your partner, I was to like, Fergie, we want to buy a house. Like, not only am I your realtor, but I'm like your marriage counselor. I am if you guys have kids, I'm like a babysitter while you guys are looking at how, like, I wore so many hats that it rolled into coaching like it was just meant to be. Saying it's like, and as I get older, you become kind of more of a silverback and people get a little bit more respect. So just coaching just 11 years ago just really started coming to fruition. I love that you're taking your intuition and freaking running with it, Oleg. So do me one last solid and leave us with one last knowledge nugget that we can take with us, internalize, and take action on.
I think it goes back to how you and I started this conversation. And that's, don't be afraid to start. I think everyone was once a beginner at something.
Yes.
As whoever might have said this quote however many years ago. But I think that's the most important part, is knowing that everything's possible. All you have to do is just start. And going back to a point you had made, and that's starting your coaching practice, me starting my business.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the easiest of paths nor journeys. I will say that from experience, but it's a worthwhile one.
Absolutely.
Why is it worthwhile? Because it's connected to who I am. It allows me to express different parts of myself that I may or may not have known.
Right.
And so in a way, it's a very fulfilling journey because it's something that allows me to develop.
Right.
And I think that's the thing that I really try to focus on as much as possible is don't be afraid to start, because I think if you don't start, then when you actually do start is the journey of regret.
Yes.
And that's a journey that you probably go to the grave with and may or may not confront at whatever point.
Right.
But that's a feeling that I truly try to minimize as much as possible through action, through starting, through awareness, right? Because if you don't, then it's just going to eat at you for many, many years. And
regret's real, man.
Regret is real.
Yeah, that's the one thing, is that I won't live with regrets. I just get stuff done. Whoever I can help, I help. I don't want to be forgotten, right? Because I believe the more you mentor, the more immortal you become. So I mentor as much as I can. And it's not an ego thing. It's like, dude, everyone dies. Like, one of my speeches that I give is, don't take life too seriously. We're not making it out alive. That's the name of the speech.
It's true.
So it's the truth. And squad, I just had another fun, awesome, enlightening conversation with my good friend Oleg, who really has the ability to connect with people. Very empathetic, sympathetic. He just has a passion for helping people. Basically, meaningful. He finds things that are meaningful and different, and he takes those and he bundled it up into moments worth remembering, where people are going to remember this gift for their lifetime. He reminds us that to some degree, we're all seeking appreciation and value, and to know what you're doing makes a difference. And this book will validate that. He wants you to challenge your assumptions and expectations like he does on a daily basis. Shift the narrative to yourself from one of living with regret to living and enjoying your journey and serving as many people as you can. And it has to start with yourself. Oleg is planting trees right now that he's never going to sit in the shade of. He's doing this from the intention, not for the attention. And that's why I vibe with Oleg so well. Lastly, he reminded us, don't be afraid to start. There is power in the start. Remember, like we talk about a lot here in Time to Shine today, inch by inch, it's a cinch. By the yard, it's hard. Short steps, long vision. Just keep going. And that's what Oleg did from the time he was in Russia to where he's at now, serving, coming up on the masses. I'm so blessed we're connected, man. I absolutely love your guts. And I can't wait to do a lot more collaborations with you and watch Sparty just absolutely annihilate Michigan.
I don't know about that one, but yes.
Seriously, man. Thank you so much for coming on, Oleg. We'll chat soon.
Oh, thank you. Of course.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Time to Shine Today podcast. Proudly brought to you by Sutter and Nugent Real Estate Excellence, who can be reached at 561-249-7266 and online at www.sutterandnugent.com. If you are a business owner or professional who would like to be interviewed on Time to Shine Today, please visit timetoshinetoday.com/guest. If you like this episode, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to our website. Also there, you will see our recommended resources. We hope that you will support our show by supporting them. If you like what you've been listening to, it'd be great if you could just give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe while you're at it. I'm your host, Scott Ferguson, and until next time, let's level up. It's our time to shine.